Today we're going to go over maintaining your cutting equipment. So this is a bar that I fixed in that previous video. It's still in very bad shape, but I've made it as good as I can. It has a Carlton 325 semi-chisel that's worn a long way back on it. I've cleaned that up. I've showed part of this chain before. It was in very bad shape. The saw that it is on is called a John Thread 2050 Turbo. This is the first time I've ever encountered one of these things. I ran like probably 4 or 5 tanks through it yesterday. It's actually not a bad saw. Okay, so now we get into the actual maintenance part. This saw has just run through its first tank of fuel for the day. This chain still cuts. It still cuts fine. There's nothing wrong. I haven't hit anything. It still works. This is the time to sharpen. Think of this like the knives in your kitchen. You might keep them in a block or in a drawer. When you pull them out, you may hit them on a fine steel just to keep a keen edge on it. If you hit something severe, like the edge of a sink or something like that, and you get a nick in it, then you're going to have to sharpen it properly. You're going to have to use a stone or whatever your preferred method is. Think of saw chain in the same way. We never want it to be dull. We always want it to be sharp. And all we really want to do is just keep putting that keen edge back on it. Just give it a light touch up. That way it just keeps cutting the best it can. In all honesty, this is a semi-chisel chain. It's an old Carlton design with a pretty big corner. It will probably cut for 3 or 4 tanks before you need to sharpen it. But it's still better, especially when you're starting off, just to keep doing it. So every tank of fuel, give it a light touch up. We check our chain tension because you can see we've got a bit of stretch in it. Everything's got hot. It happens. So every tank of fuel, we're going to give it a touch up, which I'll show you the process of. Every second tank of fuel, we're going to take our chain and bar off. We're going to clear out the rails, we're going to flip the bar and put it back on. If you just keep working that process, after a tank of fuel, you stop, you touch it up. After 2 tanks, you take the bar off, you clean the rails, you throw it all back on, give it a light touch up, and then just repeat the process. This may sound like really arduous, slow going work, but think about how much wood you cut in a tank of fuel. This is a 49cc saw. Only holds a small amount of fuel. I've been able to cut a load of wood. I'm not going to get much more out of here in one trip. I think people would be surprised at how much you cut as long as you keep everything cutting well. So we'll get on with the process of actually doing this. I've taken my little stump vise, pounded it into one of the rounds that I'm taking with me for firewood because it gives me a good working height. So keep in mind, this is vise for the newer people or the more casual users. If you do this a lot, you probably have a system. I do own this stump vise. I generally don't use it. For people starting off, people who just want to get a little bit better at it, this is the process. Got the saw secured in there. Even though it's not sitting on there, great. As long as it's held on there, it's pretty stable. So obviously the next step of this is chain tension. We don't want the chain to be loose while we're trying to sharpen it. I highly recommend tensioning it more than you'd have it when you're running it. More tension is your friend when you are sharpening. It helps hold the chain steady. All right, so I have a lot of chain tension on there. I can still move it around. I'm going to loosen that off and actually tension it correctly before we run the saw again, but I want it like that for the sharpening process. So the next part of this is I'm going to assemble my file guide. You can see how much use this one's at. The more eagle-eyed among you may realise that I'm using a 4mm or a 5/32 file and a guide designed for sharpening 3/8 low profile chain, even though I am running 325. The reason I'm doing this is because this cutter is worn about 3/4 of the way back through its life, and this will prevent it from digging into the tie straps too much. As they wear back, they become lower. It can be very helpful to go down a file size. It's an optional step, but it can be very helpful. If you carry a permanent marker with your sharpening stuff, just paint one of them a colour so you know where you started. All I'm going to do is find my angles. I need to know what's level because this is nature and everything's uneven. Need to know that. I'm using some file tilt. You probably just hold it flat. Check our line there. Yep, I'm pretty good. We're going to go through and we're just going to give it a few light strokes. You want to check the cutter. Look at the front of it. I'll get you an up close of that. Okay, so here's the one that I've just sharpened. We want to check that we've got it all. Have we made contact with everything? You can see I've missed maybe a little bit at the top there, so that's going to need one more stroke. If you look at that compared to one that I haven't touched, you see that one's kind of dirty and just, yeah. Here we have bright shiny metal the whole way across. Everything looks pretty good. And that is literally all we are doing. There is no need for us to do anything else. We're not going until we see burrs. We're not going until we've removed a percentage of the tooth or anything. We just need to give it a few light file strokes just to keep that edge going. There's no damage here to remove. We're not trying to straighten anything. We're not trying to repair anything. We have a chain that already cuts. We're just making sure it keeps cutting as well as it can. If you've ever seen a still owner's manual where it talks about sharpening, or any of their sharpening manuals or guides, they talk about a chain should only need 2 or 3 light strokes, when you sharpen it. The intention is you should be doing this. You've stopped when it still cuts and you're just touching it up. As long as you haven't hit anything, you can get away with this. The problems come when you hit something. I highly recommend that you use the back of the guide or the file to advance the cutters, and also push them in the direction of travel. I've seen a few people do it where they grab hold of it and pull it backwards, and you end up with some pretty nasty cuts. So bump it forward. When you're just using a file, you just put it in behind it. That's what I normally do. I'll do my strokes, just put the file behind it and push it forwards. With a guide, I can use the guide to push it. Might as well talk about depth gauges, rakers, drags, whatever you want to call them. I will not be touching them. The reason for that is I set them before. There we go, we're back to the beginning, we're halfway there. I'll flip it around. So like I was saying, I'm not going to be touching depth gauges because I did them last time I sharpened. When we're doing this, we're removing so little of the cutter, it doesn't matter. You can check them probably every 3rd or 4th time. If you were just doing this after every tank of fuel, you're probably going to check your depth gauges the 2nd time you flip the bar. So you'll do your touch up, run another tank of fuel, pull the bar and the chain off, clean everything out, flip it over, do that twice more, then check your depth gauges. Because of how I have this mounted, the easiest way to get the other side is just twist it around. I fear my arm's going to block a lot of this video. Okay, and that's the sharpening process all done. So we need to fix that chain tension, do everything up, put some fuel and oil back in it, and away we go again. For reference, if you just do this every tank of fuel and you sharpen your chain like this, you'll probably sharpen it approximately, depending on the chain, 30 to 40 times before you wear it out. Some people freak out with that and think you're wasting a lot of chain, but if you think about it, how much wood do you cut on a tank of fuel? Spread that over 30 or 40 tanks. You're doing a lot of work. For the average firewood guy, like, I've cut pretty much a load of firewood in one tank of fuel here. Like, you don't, you tend to go through chains pretty slowly when you're just doing it on a home heating casual basis. While this advice has been for the newer guys, if you want to know what I do with the big saws, if I'm using like a 660, 880, whatever, same thing. Generally every tank of fuel I give them a light touch up. Some of the chipper chain or the better semi chisels, the 404 semis, I'll leave them probably 2 or 3 tanks. You generally get a feel for it. Same thing, you just try and get them when they're in good condition, give them a light touch up and get on with it. When it comes to dressing the bar, it's going to be so much easier. Every probably 4 tanks of fuel, we're going to dress the bar. I showed how to do that in extreme way in that other video. I might do this later today. I might just keep using it and run you through it. It's going to be a very, very quick process. But for now, that's it.